stole somebody from us. We had the pressure of Nervous Records, you know, going through a lot of stuff at the time. So it was a lot of pressure, you know what I'm saying, on me. And for some reason, it was just like a night and day boom, because I got into myself. It was like, you know what? Leave all this alone. Like, who cares? Later for the structure. Later for the structure, later for the bars, later for the logic, later for all of this. Just do what you feel in your heart. Follow me. Trust me. And that's why I used to always say the word follow me, follow my lead, follow me. I would always say that because somehow inside told me first to follow yourself. So I said, you know what? Sometimes people get a voice in their head, right? And they're like, blah. They don't listen. You know, tell themselves, oh, I'm going to go, and they don't go. And that voice be telling you, lead you in the right direction. So I listen to that voice in my head, like, I'm going to listen, you know?
So let's just take a quick, because I think that comfort in your style was something that I think marked you as a leader as soon as you came out. That in the pocket, if we were in jazz, that flow. And then it's great to hear that. But I think we got you open. You want to watch that one? Yeah. Let's watch a little bit of, you know, I got you open. The video, which is different than what's on the album, but we'll talk about that.
And this is one of the later tracks you did, right?
Yeah.
You got
it. Watch somebody. Watch. There's a guy that's gonna slip and. Right there. Watch him.
No one ever repeats that. This was the coldest day, the coldest day.
That's the first day we had our introduction to our
That's not birds, that's water, believe it or not. People thought that was birds.
Yeah, we get it's then we start hearing it down there. Yeah, let's give it up.
I'm gonna tell y'all a story about this record right here, right? So we recorded into the stage, and Buckshot comes to me, he goes, yo, E, it's this Barry White record. I love this record, yo, E, you gotta hook this up. And I'm on my obscure, if I hook something up, it's gonna be ill, I'm gonna beat mine up, I'm gonna find that rare beat, and I'm not hooking that up. But Buck was persistent, like, yo, E, this right here, if we hook this up, this is it right here. And I'm like, nah, Buck. Finally one day I go, you know what, I gotta stop being stubborn. So I sit down, listen to the record, and I'm like, you know what, Buck is kind of right. This thing is kind of right. And I start hooking it up, and it's ill like, you never want to get a Buckshot, I told you so. That's not the move. So finally I go, Buck, you know, that joint was kind of hot. And it's ill because you had a look on your face like you wanted to go, told you. It's like, that record right there, that was actually Buckshot's idea.
Well, what it was is that we had a visual of which, it's funny because Eminem did the remix.
Well, I got you open. The album version.
What he did on the new record?
Yeah.
Okay, right, because you were, we'll get into the Q&A. You were.
Yeah, my point of that was the original was so dirty. I never knew that nobody would go to that original, right? And the original, no, but here's the thing. Even though we was back then, I still had an ear to know something that dirty would only last about 3 weeks to most on radio. You know what I'm saying? something about I love it. But I was like, I'm sitting there going, this will not last on radio. Like my moms can't listen to it. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Like I love it when my moms, and I'm like, man, I'm listening to the radio and I'm just hoping and praying for that one record to hit me that has everybody on it, the whole world. And I'm listening, and I'm asking this question and playing Yo Gates in the back while I'm listening. I'm asking, I'm playing. And next thing you know, I'm like, man,
That's it.
I'm like, that's it.
Wait, say the sample again. It's Barry White.
Barry White,
Barry White,
Yo
Yo
Gates. Yeah, so it was actually a record that my mom didn't know. So I felt happy about that, but I was nervous because of the same thing he said. I knew that when I brought this record back to they were gonna be like,
And that's what I did.
like, yo, what is this? What are you arguing now? So I was afraid of that, so I brought it back to E, and then they was like, and then eventually E took it and made it hard. You know what I'm saying? And that's why everybody in the studio was like, okay, dope.
Let Brian, what you jump in, you made some good points about the technical things that he was
Well,
doing.
to be fair too, I mean, even stylistically, Who Got the Props was a pretty poppy song too, kind of similar. I mean, I think that was always the thing that you guys did so well was make things that were catchy, but certainly were hard. You know, it wasn't like some pop shit. So
That's all you would do.
Like my whole thing is, I feel like this. You could take anything and put it on some hard drums, and it becomes hard. And you take a bass line, and filter it crazy until it's just bass. And then you just turn it up. To me, hard bass, hard drums is hip hop. And it's like, I always want, if I didn't do this, if we didn't blow the fuse in the studio, you remember that, right? We didn't blow the fuse in the studio, that record was whack. If I made a beat and I didn't catch it, if I looked at you and you wasn't nodding your head, that beat was out of here. And that was my whole thing. My whole thing was, yo.
Karen was going to go get a fuse.
Yeah. When people listen to my records, you're going to do this. And that was my whole thing. I wanted it to be where when I made a record, it was just like no matter which record it was, you could throw it on and everybody has that same reaction. And you make that face and you're like,
hip-hop face.
Yeah,
That was it.
a lot of hip hop, like you said, no one took on the idea of dirty, underground, black, midnight. Like, everybody had, because before us, we thought, I thought it was against the law, almost to come in like that. I thought you had to have jury, certain things, you had to be a certain way to like you was going for work, and it wasn't until later that I learned it really is all about the heart. Just come from within. Like just be you. Just keep it 100, and everything else don't matter. And I personified that. And took the risk. You know what I'm saying? Meaning a lot of people still to this day will look at the way I present a certain time myself and will be like, yo, what happened, yo?
Did you take it as like a sonic challenge in a way too, to do something like that was so juxtaposed, like a very white thing that could also be that hard? Like, was that must have been fun for you to walk? Like,
you know what it was? Like, that record, it's funny because War was totally against it. War wasn't touching that record. And the only reason I messed with that record was because of Buck. Because I was like, you know what? And this is the logic. I said, you know what? If I do it and it doesn't rock, at least I can be like, yo, Buck, I tried. It didn't work. But my whole mission was, if I am going to do it, I'm doing it my way. And with that Barry White record, I'll break it down to y'all too. What I did was, and I do the same thing, I do the same thing to this day. I took that record, and that was, back then we had Walkmans, of course. I had my Walkman, I walked around and did everything I had to do listening to that one record all day. And then when I got home, I sat in front of my equipment and I was like, okay, I need drums to go with this record. I found an open kick, an open snare on that record. Sampled that, took this hi-hat that I always use, put that up in the SP, then I looped up the parts that Buck told me he wanted to use. Then I sat there and said, okay, this sounds cool, but we need it to sound like a beat mod record. So I filtered the bass lines like crazy. That right there, but I'm gonna tell you one thing I did with that record that I never did before was I actually did that whole beat in stereo. So when you hear it in your headphones, like Buckshot, see, I was saying to myself, Buckshot, when he was listening to it, he was either listening to it in a radio or in headphones. And those old records sound wide. So I wanted to give Buckshot that wide sound back. So I sampled it in stereo, so when he heard it, it would be just like hearing the original. And what happened was not only did he do that, but people who heard it was like, yo, this sounds just like the original. The drums match. What did he do? Did he get the session and turn the drums up? Like, that's what I want people to think, that I actually went to the studio, took the original tape, and made the beat. And it worked.
And let me just say this last thing about that record I got you open. Before that record came out, there were MCs like Kane, like you can name a few, Kane, you know, Special Ed, Coogee Rap, whoever, like anybody, keep naming them, Chubb Rock, whoever. I mean, the point is, there was nobody who did something like what I call melodic flowing. You know what I'm saying? So there was nobody that I could go back to and go, yeah, he did it. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Yeah. So when I was in the studio one day, you know, I mean, I was in the crib one day and I'm hearing the doo-doo, doo-doo. So again, my mind and my soul was just feeling like flowing, but I'm like, I can't match what I'm flowing with the words, with the beat. I hear it in my head, but I'm like, if I deliver what's in my head to these people, I would be the laughing stock once again. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm hearing, could be in the morning, I will jam that. I heard it. And I'm like, follow that. Like, so then I was like, you know what? I'm like, word, I was following it. And next thing you know, I did the record. And I said, I'm going to let E hear it, Drew Line hear it. And I said, if they laugh at me, throw it away. I said, because I'm prepared to get this laugh.
Right.
I'm telling you the truth. So I get in the booth. He said, all right, like, you ready? And I'm like, I said, yeah, hold on, give me 1 second. So I went over to Drew Line, right? I said, yo, Drew. I was like, yo, listen to this flow real quick. I said, yo, tell me, I'm telling you. I was like, yo, if you don't like it, I don't care if you're good. I said, I'm telling you, man, you're going to laugh at me. So he said, just try it. And I spit it. And he said, nah. He's like, yo, that actually sounds good, man, do it. Yeah. So I did it to everybody. And I spit it to them. They said, no, Buck, do it. And I did it, and everything you hear in it was kind of like a nervous but same spiritual flow. And I just did it, and I thought everybody was going to laugh. And came out, and everybody was like, I was like, word.
Yo, I ain't going front. When he did, well, this kid's in the mic, gonna say exactly what I said, but I was like, yo, that is dope. Yo, what, yo? Like, I'm behind the boards, like, I'm like, you know what? Ain't nobody effing with us right now.
I think it is hard to overstate that, and I know from the other side that it's funny to hear you nervous because that was the picture of confidence. Right? Yeah. That was what they call swag now. And that was like a dude who's completely in control of his own self. So
that's just going within self. That's what I'm saying. Don't get me wrong. I'm nervous when I'm here, right? Like you know what I mean, here with a mic. And I'm nervous because this is something, remember, everybody's coming from hearing, put up, what up, whoa, whoa. So I'm going, this could be the moment that it's all over. The minute I spit, you know, they're going to be like, yo, I don't know who that guy is. So get us, put up, what up, whoa, bring him. Yeah. And we'll continue. But this new guy that you're trying to introduce us to, you know what I mean? So I was prepared. That's why I said I was nervous because I was going, once I do this, it's a wrap. I said, I don't care. And that's why